Hello and welcome to another episode of the Diet Obsessed podcast. I am your host, Veronica Santarelli. I am a certified personal trainer, nutrition and weight loss coach, and this podcast is for those of us who are just obsessed with all things related to improving health and longevity, with a special emphasis on food, fitness, and diet culture. All right, let's get into the show. Now, if you want to support the show, there's a few ways you can do that. First of all, if you're on YouTube, just click that subscribe button. It does not cost a penny and it really helps us. There's also, I do 2 premium content shows every single month. This is one of my free shows. And then I also do I do a VIP episode once a month. And then I do another premium content show called Craving More. And those you can subscribe to through Apple Podcasts or Patreon if you want the VIP level. You can just go to the link in my bio on Instagram at the Diet Obsessed Podcast. And if you click that link in my bio, it'll take you to all those options. Another way you can support the show that does not cost a penny is just leave a rating or review. That means wherever you listen to podcasts, leave a comment, leave some stars. It really helps us. And I appreciate your support. Hey everyone, welcome back. It's been a minute. Let's get right into my mental health check-in. So it is Saturday today. I did 2 back-to-back VIP episodes in my last 2 episodes, so it has been a little bit longer that I've released a show. Just some behind the scenes. I had gone to publish my last show on YouTube, and YouTube was like, oh, this music, there's some sort of issue with the music I had used. Now I did purchase that music from some sort of website or something where I had the rights to use it. I just can't find where I bought it from. And so I'm just like, okay, let me just start over with some of the music in Riverside. So for those of you that have been listening to me for a while, I'm going to be using some different intro and outro music that hopefully YouTube will be okay with since it's coming from a public use area. So we'll see about that. So this is my crazy month. October is going to be absolutely insane. I've gotten through part of it where last weekend was a wedding that I went to in California. We were in, what was the name of it? It was Paso Robles. It's kind of near, we landed in the San Luis Obispo airport and took an Uber to Paso Robles, but it's beautiful. It's wine country. The weather was gorgeous. Now it's on the ocean, so you get the marine layer, you get that cold morning with no sun because the clouds are still covering the sun. But once that clears, it's beautiful. Not good for my hair. I did have my my keratin treatment because I knew that this wedding was coming up. So I'm glad that I did that because I did have good hair at the wedding. If I hadn't done that keratin treatment, it would have been a frizz ball. So that's why I love living in the desert, because good hair days. So today was a good day. I had my early morning clients. My youngest client, who's literally 6 years old, she's so cute. She painted me this picture, drew me this picture of a piece of pizza. I'm like, how did you know? How did you know the key to my heart? Pizza. So she was super cute. So I worked with her this morning. But yeah, so I'm getting this podcast done today, and then I will have another one that I'm hopefully going to record either tomorrow or the next day because my friends from Maine are coming into town next week. So my mental health is good. We had a great weekend at the wedding. I'll talk about some of the food that we had, but it was beautiful. And then my friends are coming into town. Now I was really stressed for a little while before the wedding because I had to work from the hotel room on Friday, and I was very nervous. I was nervous about how I would work without, I normally have 3 huge screens that help me operate everything I need to operate. And I only had 1 screen when I was traveling. So made it work. I was stressed out about it for the longest time, but it did work out well. So I was happy about that. And then this weekend, I am supposed to have brunch with a friend tomorrow, but I might cancel because you can't, I don't know how much you can see, but I do have an eye infection in this eye. That's why I'm wearing glasses. That's why I have no makeup on, and it's not attractive. So it's trying to be a sty, which is the ugliest, most disgusting thing in the world. I'm sorry, it just is. I always feel bad for people that have styes. I'm like, oh, I don't want to look at you right now. I don't want to look at myself right now. Okay. So anyway, you might want to just listen to this on an audio recording. You can't really see it, that it's not that bad right now. It's wanting to be bad. So I'm just trying to baby it. I'm trying to use anti-inflammatory methods. But I did look up that a sty can come from stress. It can come from lack of sleep. And I have been somewhat stressed the past couple weeks, just with stuff that's going on in my personal life and, just work stuff. So, but I think things are falling into place, thankfully. So, hopefully my stress will start to lessen. I do have a good update. I just did a VIP episode last weekend, and I do have a really good update that I'll be providing on my next VIP episode that has made my mental health a little bit better. But mental health is important, right? Like, mental health affects us so much, and I am very conscious about how I'm feeling internally and how that affects how I'm acting outwardly, because a lot of times when people are being assholes, they just have other stuff going on. So that is my mental health check-in of the week. I hope all of you have had a great mental health week yourselves. All right, let's get into a nutrition knowledge segment. So I wanted to talk about some food combinations and nutrient combinations that support each other. So recently, I'm trying to remember where I saw it. It might have been Instagram, but I was curious about something I had seen, and I wanted to look at, because I'd seen this thing that said if you add lemon juice to spinach, your body absorbs iron instantly, and your energy skyrockets. So I've seen a post, and so I want to do some research on, does lemon juice actually help your body absorb iron in spinach? And it said that yes. Lemon juice significantly helps your body absorb the non-heme iron found in spinach. Due to its high vitamin C content, vitamin C converts the plant-based iron in spinach into a form that is more easily absorbed by the body. This pairing is simple and effective. It's a way to enhance the nutritional value of spinach and boost your energy levels. And so the reason that lemon juice helps is lemons are rich in vitamin C, and that is known to increase the bioavailability of iron. And this is the specific type of iron that's found in plant-based foods like spinach. This is good to know because I have been adding some lemon and some citrus juice and pulp into my superfood smoothie every morning, which does have a lot of spinach in it as well. And the acidic environment created by lemon juice does help to convert the specific type of iron that's in spinach into a more absorbable form, and it allows your body to utilize it more effectively. And so there's all kinds of different ways that you can, adding lemon to salads, blending it into smoothies, right? Drizzling it over cooked greens. So there's a lot of different ways that you can incorporate iron and spinach together. So I'm glad I was doing that anyway with my superfood smoothie. I'm going to continue to do that. Now, I did hear on the Good Guys podcast recently that Ben Soffer had been talking about, he was on this turmeric kick, and he was using all this turmeric, but he had learned that if you don't use black pepper with it, your body basically can't absorb it. And so I wanted to research that because I remember when I had done the wellness shot did have turmeric and it did have black pepper in it, along with lemon and orange and ginger and some other nutrients. But now I'm realizing why they added the black pepper to that concoction. So combining turmeric and black pepper is beneficial because the piperine in black pepper significantly enhances the body's absorption of curcumin, the active compound in turmeric. This synergy allows for greater anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects, but it is important to use supplement level doses of both to achieve significant health benefits. And then obviously you want to consult with your healthcare provider if you're going to be doing any type of high dose supplementation, because supplements can mess with current pharmaceuticals that you're using. Some people do have conditions where they really do need to watch out what supplements they're taking. And so the reason that this combination works is black pepper contains piperine, which is a compound that increases the bioavailability of curcumin by a very large factor. Without piperine, the body absorbs very little curcumin. So together, it forms a potent anti-inflammatory combination, and it helps reduce discomfort and pain in the body. So again, I guess that's why that wellness shot had it in there, right? Now let's talk about magnesium and vitamin D. So the interaction between these two nutrients, and vitamins and minerals, right? Magnesium is required for the activation and metabolism of vitamin D. Magnesium is required for the activation and metabolism of vitamin D. Vitamin D deficiency can lead to magnesium deficiency, as magnesium is needed to transport and utilize vitamin D. And then conversely, magnesium deficiency can impair the body's ability to produce and use vitamin D. So when you take them together, you can have improved bone health. Both nutrients contribute to calcium absorption and bone mineralization. You'll have enhanced immune function. Both nutrients support the immune system and reduce the risk of infections. It can help reduce the risk of chronic diseases. Vitamin D and magnesium have been linked to a lower risk of heart disease, like osteoporosis and certain types of cancer. And overall, combining the two have been proven to improve mood and mental health, because magnesium and vitamin D have been shown to support mood regulation and reduce the risk of depression. So I have my magnesium and my vitamin D sitting together on my counter in the bathroom. And when I do take it, I take it most days. I take it together. And I forget when I learned that, but it was a while ago. But I have known about this combination for a while. So do you know about this combination? Have you always taken magnesium with vitamin D? If not, it is recommended. And of course, always consult a healthcare professional, because I am not a healthcare professional. And that is my nutrition knowledge segment of the week. All right, let's get into a foodie fail. Now, there are certain foods that do not go bad. Can you name one? Did you know that honey does not go bad? It doesn't spoil. And obviously obviously if you just leave it out in the sun all day, that's not going to do well. But if it's stored properly, and it can last a very, very, very long time and really doesn't go bad. Now, nuts are another thing, right? Nuts have oil that can go bad. And I have known about this for a while. And if you've followed me for a while, the people that know me know I hate wasting food. And I always want to use the ingredients that are sitting in my cabinet. I almost get this thrill. I almost get a high off using something that hasn't, that's still good, right? And is an ingredient that I can take from the back and utilize it in some delicious food mixture, some recipe, if you will. And now sometimes I will use something that I'm like, it's questionable. I don't know if I should use this. I want to use it, but am I going to ruin the entire thing? Because I've also learned the hard way by putting, if I'm questioning milk and I'll be like, oh, let me just try to use this milk. And then I put it in there and it's curdled and I'm like, okay, I literally just ruined this entire smoothie, for example, if I try to use something that's going to ruin the whole batch. And I've ruined, whole things of, bread when I'm trying to make bread, or just, and then you waste all the other ingredients that you've put in there. So you do need to be careful. So recently I had a couple of cans of condensed milk, light condensed milk. No, light coconut milk. Okay, so I had this light coconut milk. I think I bought it for my Ninja smoothie or Ninja creamy for some of those recipes. And I've also bought it for this overnight oat recipe that I'm about to tell you about. But I had them in there. And I also had an unopened container of oatmeal it was years old. Now I did look up how long can oatmeal stay good without being used. And as long as it's sealed, it can last years. Now this was pushing it, right? Like it was on the cusp of being 4 years old, maybe 3 years old, but it was completely sealed. It had not been opened. So I'm like, I'm going to try to use this oatmeal. So the oatmeal, so what I was trying to make, what I wanted to make was the Starbucks dupe of the overnight oats. And I used to get this when I would travel to California. I've never been able to find it here in Arizona, but when I was working in Arizona, California, they had this delicious overnight oats, and it had oatmeal and chia seeds and what's it called? I just had to go look because I could not remember for the life of me what it was. It was quinoa. Oh my God, I could not bring that word to my brain. So anyway, so it had all these great high protein ingredients in it. And I wanted to try to use some of the old stuff that I still had left, like the oatmeal. And I mean, the coconut milk wasn't that old, but it was sitting there and I wanted to use it because I wasn't about to make my Ninja Creamy ice cream. I just had no desire to make that. So I'm like, let me use these things. I substituted green tea. So it had extra nutrients and antioxidants in it. And so what you do is you cook the oatmeal and the quinoa. You add in chia seeds at the end. I cooked it in green tea, and then you add the coconut milk in. And then the toppings that you put on top are you toast some almonds and some shredded coconut, unsweetened, and then you slice up some strawberries on it. And so I made this batch of it, and it made like 6 containers of it. It made a huge amount. And I actually put in many, many more chia seeds than the recipe called for because I wanted it a little bit thicker. And it was a little bit runny a little bit, but it was really good. And I wanted to use these nuts. Now I looked and I saw this whole package of sliced almonds. They were raw almonds. And I'm like, but they were open. They were literally sitting there open. And I knew that they were, I don't even know how old these were, 2 years. And I smelled them and I could smell that the oil, you could smell that they weren't good. Like you could smell it. You could smell that the oil was kind of rancid a little bit. But I'm like, maybe I'll try it. Maybe I'll still try to roast them and just see if roasting them helps. And so I roasted them, and it literally, the whole house smelled like rancid oil. It was disgusting. So anyway, it was a waste of time and a little bit of, well, I don't even think I put any oil or anything on them. I just threw them away. So they were not going to be used. Now, what I then found, because I wanted to use almonds and I didn't want to go out and buy almonds. So I found this jar of completely wrapped whole dry roasted almonds that had never been opened. They were these little individual packets that you can get from Trader Joe's. And I remember that I used to just carry those in my bags because I was like, oh, this is a quick source of protein. And I remember I was always eating these, but they were so unsatisfying because they were just these dry roasted almonds that had no flavor. After I ate them, I was always hungrier because they were so unsatisfying. So I'm like, okay, these have been completely sealed. They're even older than these other almonds, but they've been completely sealed. So I opened them and I'm like smelling them and I'm like, they smell okay. Like they don't smell like the other ones. And I couldn't smell that rancid smell. So I chop them up and I roast them. And I mean, you could definitely tell that they weren't fresh, okay? They were not store-bought almonds, but they were edible. They were fine. I used them and I have to say, I am so happy that I could use those very old almonds, the very old oatmeal, the coconut milk that had been sitting in my closet forever. I ate all the strawberries I bought. And it lasted me. Now, by the time I got to that 6th container of this overnight oats, I was a little sick of it. I mean, I do by like the 5th or 6th day of something I've meal prepped, I'm like, I do not want to eat this. I'm going to eat it. I don't want to waste it, but I'm over it. So I was over it by the time I ate this last one, but I did eat it and they went down just fine. And the nuts didn't taste too bad. Now, I do know I have one of my listeners like, ew, you're disgusting. She doesn't come anywhere close to eating anything that might be slightly bad. What about you? Are you someone that will, test the boundaries of, hey, can I use this? Can I not use this? Feel free to DM me at the Diet Obsessed Podcast. Would love to hear from you. And that is my foodie fail of the week. All right, let's get into my healthy habits of the week. So my healthy habits this past, couple weeks really, because I haven't been talking to you guys for a while on one of my free episodes, but I've been doing my superfood smoothie and I just ran out of the pulp I had made, which this time I had made it with the beet juice, the orange juice and the lemon juice, and the ginger. Now, what I realized is when I was adding these big blocks, because I put the pulp and that beet and, juice mixture into these ice cube trays. And what I realized is the ginger in it. The ginger definitely gave it an interesting flavor to my smoothie because, it wasn't bad, and I wanted to use the rest of the ginger because the ginger was on its way to going bad. This is the theme of the day. But I did want to use the rest of the ginger. It wasn't bad. It was fine. It was just a little rubbery, when you have something that's a vegetable that's kind of like rubbery because it's been there for a while. I don't mind eating that. Like I'll eat a rubbery kind of carrot. And this was, a little rubbery, but I was juicing it. So I juiced it and used some of that pulp must have made it into the mixture. And yeah, so I, again, tasted very healthy. The ginger definitely added to that. But will I do it again for the ice cube trays? No, I'm not going to use ginger in the future. I'm just going to do the lemon, the orange juice, the beets, and the celery probably. I could even probably sans the celery, but definitely the beets because they're so good for you. And the oranges and the lemon, I do like that citrus, especially now that I know citrus and spinach or lemon and spinach go really, really well together. So anyway, I've been having that as always. Now, before the wedding, I was trying not to go grocery shopping. So the prior week I had used now I can get away with not going grocery shopping if the week before I buy cucumbers for that week and I use them that week. And then the following week I use a package of a vegetable that hasn't been opened. That's how I can have fresh, raw vegetables in that second week without going to the grocery store. And usually those are pea pods because pea pods have a good long shelf life, and especially if they're sealed. So I did that. I had gotten some pea pods, and Chad had made this kind of like this ground turkey sausage, mushroom, onion with some gravy mixture. Like it was high protein, but very umami and, rich and delicious. It kind of reminded me of a Thanksgiving meal. And so he put that over a little bit of brown rice. And so I'd have that for dinner. I did start getting sick of that too because he stopped eating it. And so I'm like trying to make sure it doesn't go bad. I'm like, okay, how much more of this can I possibly eat? But anyway, ate most of it. When we landed at the wedding, we stopped for some shredded chicken tacos, which were delicious. We stopped at a brewery. I was gonna get this Asian type of banh mi. I kind of wish I'd gotten that. I did want to try it, but I was very hungry at the time, and I didn't want to take a risk on something I wouldn't like, so I ended up getting the shredded chicken tacos, and they were good. I did give one to Chad, and I didn't realize this, but I had squeezed I had squeezed the lime all over it, and then I guess I had put it in one of the tacos. I didn't realize that this lemon rind or lime rind was left in one of the tacos, and so he takes a big bite, and I just see him like chewing on something and being like, he's like, he takes this lime rind out of his mouth, and he's just like, thanks. And he's like, that's all I can taste now. And he was not in a good mood. I thought it was hilarious. But anyway. And yeah, I didn't really work out much when we went to the wedding. I'd worked out quite a bit before I got there. And yeah, I'm just fitting in quick 20-minute workouts, but I'm still being consistent with it. So yeah, this week I did a lot of the cucumber, feta, red onion salads that I love with the pistachios. And when I go to my job and I have to work in office, they have this incredible cafeteria that has all this indulgent food. They even have a salad bar, and they have really good to-go salads. But I am, trying to save money, so I'll bring like a bag of carrots, and I'll bring a bunch of pistachios, and like that's what I ate for lunch. And then I maybe go treat myself with a little free ice cream that they give me. But yeah, as long as I have some protein, the nuts are good protein. And I was in the past dipping it in hummus or an olive tapenade. And I still like the taste of a raw carrot with a couple bites of a pistachio, the dry roasted salted pistachios. I mean, they're good. I'm not looking forward to lunch like, lunch, yay. But it does the trick. And it's, I save money, and that makes me happy. So anyway, those were my healthy habits of the week. I hope all of you have had some great healthy habits this week yourselves. All right, let's get into my tasty treat segment. So before I left for the wedding, I was trying not to bring a ton of sugar into the home because I am trying to limit my sugar consumption as we get into the holiday season. I'd like to, manage my weight and stay around the same and not gain too much. So, and I always like to indulge over the holidays. So I've been trying not to bring a ton of sugar into the house. Last Sunday, or the Sunday before the wedding anyway, I had done a lot of work. I basically had worked all day and wanted to, it was kind of in the afternoon where I'm like, okay, now it's time to treat myself. So I ended up going to Starbucks, and I treated myself to a bunch of their baked goods. I love a baked good. And so a pastry, if you will. So I had their apple croissant, their blueberry muffin, the lemon cake, and pumpkin bread. Now, the apple croissant was very disappointing, I have to say. Disappointing, just not great. I don't know. It had a little bit of apple, and then the croissant was, a good size, and just, I don't know. It just wasn't anything you'd write home about. It was okay. Not something I'd get again, that's for sure. But it was seasonal, and I'd never tried it, so I got it. It was fine. It was good. I'm not going to say it was bad. It was a croissant. Can't go wrong with a croissant, but was it everything I wanted it to be? No. Do I wish it had more sugar on it? Yes. Now, the blueberry muffin is always slaps. The blueberry muffin has that crumble top, and I love a muffin top, right? Who doesn't love a muffin top? How can you not love a muffin top? The crust, the texture of it all. Now, the bottom of the muffin you can just throw away. I didn't throw it away, I ate it, but it's fine. It's like, it's like regular cake, but I love that muffin top. The lemon cake, now I'm not a lemon person, and I was going to share it with Chad. I didn't end up sharing it with Chad. And does that make me a bad person? Because I knew that he loves lemon cake, and I'm like, let me get this. And I did ask him if he wanted anything. He did not want anything. So I got it, and I was like, maybe I'll give this to him. I didn't give it to him. I ate it. And it was probably the richest, sweetest thing I got that day. So good. Oh my God. And again, I'm not a lemon person, but this has icing on it. It's basically lemon pound cake, and it's thick. So good. So good. And then the pumpkin bread. Now the pumpkin bread I ate on the way home, and I love a pumpkin bread. And it was good. It was a little bit dry. I was surprised at how dry it was. It's usually much, much moister than that, but it was good. It had like some pepitas on top, no icing, but very delicious. And then, so that was my treat that day. And not crazy bad. I usually will just eat way, way, way more than that. I mean, granted, definitely went to bed very, very full of pastry and baked goods that day. And then I don't remember what I ate for saltiness that day. I must have had something delectable, but Chad made one of his delicious pasta dishes, which it was like a sausage pasta. I know, you'd think I would have given him the lemon cake because he cooked for me. Okay, maybe I'm not a good person. I can't help it. I wanted the lemon cake once I brought it home. So, whatever. He doesn't always share the food with me, but he did make a delicious pasta dish that day, and it was really, really good. I love his cooking. And then the wedding. Now, the wedding was, so let's see. So we got there, and the first night was Friday night was this welcome party, and I was drinking my wine. I had a cocktail. When I got the cocktail I had was like, it was way too strong. But I got it down as one does. And there was a huge spread of food out. I get a little bit, I think it's like anticipation, excitement, anxiety, something as I'm going into these social engagements, and I lose my appetite until the very end of the night. So the very end of the night rolls around. I'm doing some wine tasting, and there's the remnants of pizzas and charcuterie left. So I'm there like stabbing this rind of Parmesan cheese. It's this end of a block, but I'm like, there's still some meat on there. So I'm like chipping away at it. And I get a few chunks of this Parmesan cheese, and I grab a couple of, now dry, cold pieces of pizza, and I'm putting this big chunk of a Parmesan cheese on it and biting in. Delicious. It was really good. So ate that. And then the next day was the wedding. And so during the day, Chad and I walked around. He, of course, wanted to go to some breweries, wanted to get some food. So we were walking around and found the sourdough bakery. And so we went in there and we got I got a sausage, egg and cheese sourdough roll. And so inside the roll was the sausage, the cheese, and actually had a little bit of potato in there too, which I kind of picked out the potato because it was dry. And really what it needed what needed to happen to this roll to make it absolutely delicious is it needed to be cut in half, put into some sort of toaster oven, or maybe what's it called, air fryer. That's the word I'm looking for, air fryer. Or air fryer. It needed to be toasted and warmed from the inside as well, and then it needed to be slathered in butter. Now that would have been delicious. It was still good. She warmed it up a little bit for us and we took it out and we ate it on a bench outside in the sun, because the sun hits differently in California. In California, in October, you just want to like take the rays. In Arizona, it's like very intense. But it was nice to just sit there on a bench and eat our little sourdough roll, and it was good. It could have been better, yes, but it was still really good. And then I got this incredible looking sugar cookie for later. Oh my God, it was covered in rainbow sprinkles and just looked, and it was as good as I wanted it to be. So we took that to go. We walked around. We did visit this one brewery that we had kind of been asked to leave the night before, which I'm going to share that story on my next show, which is going to be a Craving More show behind the paywall, because it's a little bit embarrassing, but that's where we share the embarrassing stuff behind the paywall. So I'll tell you about that, why we were asked to leave this bar. But we did go back, and I don't think they recognized me because I was in different clothes and my hair looked different. So I was like, okay, we'll go back. It's fine. And so he got his pictures, he got the things he needed to. We walked to a thrift store, which was a total waste of time. It was a terrible thrift store, but I love a thrift store, so we had to go visit it. Stopped to get some pizza, and then we went to the wedding. So the wedding, now when we first got there, I do regret not eating more. Let me just say that. I'm so mad at myself for not eating more. This often happens to me. I look back and I'm like, oh, why didn't I take more at that time? Why didn't I go back? Anyway, so they're passing around hors d'oeuvres to start. And first of all, they have all these incredible drinks. So I'm having my cocktails. And again, I have that like anxious whatever, but I also am conscious, like I want to taste things. So first they passed around some lobster rolls, which most people would die over a lobster roll. I'm not a lobster person, but as I'm looking at these lobster rolls, I'm realizing there's like really no mayo on them. It was this light, like it had definitely had some cilantro and there was some sort of flavoring or some sort of dressing or something. Very, very, very light. It was incredibly well done, I have to say. I wish I had had a whole one to myself. I did take a good bite of Chad's second one. So at least I did have a good bite of that lobster roll. And then they passed around these one bite like fig with a little bit of goat cheese or something, or brie or some sort of cheese with fig and a little bit of honey maybe. And then they had these other ones that had tomato and some sort of other cheese. I didn't try that one, but I did try the fig one. And then, and the wedding itself was, and for those of you that follow me on Instagram, you maybe saw some of the stand-up comedians. This wedding was so hilarious. So the couple, they're very non-traditional. They had stand-up comedians write their vows. And then these stand-up comedians, and then for the main event, instead of dancing, they don't even really like to dance. They brought the stand-up comedians to roast them. So, and roasts are mean. They were saying some of the craziest things. So I'll share some of that on my next show, behind the paywall. So anyway, but yeah, it was pretty funny. But the food, so then the main spread, they had these antipasto skewers that had salami and a pepperoncini and like all kinds of like cheese, like I think mozzarella, and just one of like all these different types of antipasto, bread, like a charcuterie board. There was there was this, I wish I'd taken this little salad that they had that had this light ranch dressing on it. I didn't take that. I wish I had. They had, so the best bite were these Nashville hot sliders that I took one. I wanted to take some of the fries. They wouldn't really fit on my plate at the time. I wish I'd put them on there because I wanted some of these fries. They had hamburger sliders. I should have taken one of those. I didn't have that. They had some like pasta dishes, which I had one bite of a pasta dish that Chad had brought over. And then what else did they have that I tried? They had a meatball with cacio e pepe. What was it? It was like not a risotto, but it was some sort of cacio e pepe something. What's the? It's like the grains. It's cornmeal, but there's a name for it. Words are escaping me today. And one time I literally, so all the appetizers were placed on these little rocks. I ate a rock. I'm like, what is that? That's a rock. That's not edible. I guess I didn't take a picture of my plate, but I think that's what I was remembering. I think that meatball took up too much space. But anyway, the food was delicious. I did eat enough where I feel like I did try a lot of things. I wish there were a few other things that I wish I had tried, but I was too busy drinking. I definitely drank my little heart out. And the music, they had an incredible musician there that did a really, really good job. His voice was like an angel. So it was a beautiful wedding, very fun, delicious food. And, now we're back to reality. And next week, my friends from Maine are visiting, Kathy and Mike. So I'm going to take them to some of my favorite restaurants around here. So I'm hoping to go to Glyban, that Thai place. Love that Thai place. So anyway, but more to come on that. And those are my tasty treats of the week. I hope all of you have had some delicious, tasty treats this week yourselves. All right, let's get into my podcast review. So today I'm going to be talking about Dynorphins, which was a topic discussed by Gary Brecka. He hosts the Ultimate Human podcast. I don't listen to a lot of episodes from this gentleman. He is an influencer. He's one of those kind of biohacking type of guys. And so I do like some of the stuff he says, and some of the stuff I'm like, no, not for me. And one of my listeners did recommend this podcast to me. And I do get some value out of it. There are some episodes that I really enjoy. And again, I do take the stuff that Gary puts out with a grain of salt, because I think he also is involved in a lot of companies where he makes money off of these companies, and that's why he's talking about them and promoting them. Which again, I have no problem with capitalism, and I have no problem with people selling products that they believe in or investing in a company that they believe in. So, but I do listen to things and wonder, is there a special interest? And my guess, so here's my hypothesis, is that he is invested or maybe on the board of, somehow involved with a company that is doing research into Dynorphins. And so the title of this specific podcast was Dynorphins. This brain chemical is why you're addicted to junk food. And I'm like, okay, do tell, because I definitely have a junk food addiction. And again, I'm one of those people that does have to I will eat junk food if it's there. I love healthy food and I love the junk food. So let's see what he has to say about Dynorphins. So he's talking about the fact that there are some brain circuits involved in drug and alcohol addiction that are hijacked by ultra-processed foods. Some research is showing that Dynorphins are key players in why this happens. And so these are peptides that attach to kappa opioid receptors. And initially, they reduce dopamine and create dysphoria that drives you to seek food rewards. Scientific research is showing that blocking these receptors reduces binge eating in animal studies. Okay, this has not been tested on humans. And it's offering hope for new therapeutic approaches to food addiction. Now, blocking certain receptors, there have been studies. It seems like everybody is trying to find the new semaglutide or the GLP-1s, right? These weight loss drugs have just taken over. And so I think there's a lot of money being poured into new classifications, new ways different receptors and peptides can be utilized for weight management. Now, with that said, right, a lot of weight loss drugs can be dangerous, right? We all remember fen-phen. There was a study done where because they know that cannabis produces munchies and they know that these are tied to these CB1 and CB2 receptors, there was a study done on blocking some of these specific CB1 and CB2 receptors or endogenous cannabinoid receptors, and it caused suicidal tendencies. So not good, right? Some of this is not good to do. And I mean, that's why they do research, right? You have to do research to find out, is there harm? Is there benefit? And so these dynorphins latch to kappa opioid receptors, which are sprinkled throughout the brain, including in areas involved in reward and feeding. These areas are control centers for when and why we eat. So dynorphins, they don't float around aimlessly. They're involved in regulating how much we want to eat and how our body handles energy once we consume food. So new research shows that injecting specific dynorphins into the brain of mammals caused them to eat more, but didn't mess with anything else they were doing, like moving or resting. So this told researchers that these chemicals play a targeted, specific role in appetite without involving other behaviors. They also found that various parts of the dynorphin molecule and different types of dynorphins can stimulate appetite, which revealed the brain is a backup system to make sure your feeding behavior gets activated properly. So Gary goes on to talk about how this study was done. So scientists also bred special mice that don't produce dynorphins at all. Then they were fed a high-fat diet. Similar, you could kind of, they were trying to create how Americans eat in today's society with a ton of ultra-processed foods. And these mice ended up getting much heavier than the normal mice despite eating the same amount or even less in some cases. So they tell us that these chemicals are more involved than just making us hungry. They also play a part in how the body controls weight, metabolism, and how efficiently energy is used from food. Usually, if you burn more calories than you consume, you lose weight. But without dynorphins, your body struggles to balance energy intake and weight gain, possibly because dynorphins affect how our cells produce and use energy. That's kind of what they're hypothesizing and what they're looking at with these studies. Dynorphins are also involved in unique eating behaviors like binge eating. So I thought this was really interesting. Dynorphins are right there working in the kappa opioid receptors to influence how rewarding food feels, specifically how much we want or crave it. Animal studies show when drugs block these receptors, binge or compulsive eating drops, especially in animals prone to obesity. And this overlaps with what we know about addiction, because the same brain circuits involved in drinking alcohol or using drugs also respond to these signals. So this supports the idea that some people develop food addictions or hyper-processed foods can kick off these craving cycles, binging, or withdrawal-like feelings. Then he went on to talk about how blocking dynorphin signals doesn't just reduce overeating, it also calms the bad feeling associated with it. It breaks the cycle of needing foods to feel better, only to feel worse when it's not available. So that's what's interesting is it's almost that psychological need, or those psychological feelings that are related to how we eat. It kind of reminds me of how the GLP-1s are helping with that negative food noise. But this makes the receptor system a promising target for new drugs for compulsive eating patterns. That's what scientists are thinking after the results of these initial studies. Then they talked about how impulsivity is a personality trait. Some people act without thinking that much, or they're the types that want rewards right away. And people with impulsive tendencies are more likely to have compulsive eating behaviors and binge eating behaviors. They're finding that the dynorphin receptor system acts here too. It dampens the brain area responsible for self-control, especially in the prefrontal cortex, which is the area we rely on to say no when you want that extra cookie. When dynorphins are in high quantities, the brakes on the self-control areas weaken, and the temptations to go back for seconds or thirds, it often wins. So this creates the perfect storm for things like impulsive eating, binge eating, especially fueled by the ultra processed foods that are chemically designed to be irresistible. And so that's why things like chips, cookies, all of these delectable things that that I certainly have a problem responding to or saying no to, it just makes it harder to resist. So I guess my dynorphin system is very active. If we dig deeper, so he's, going below the surface regarding brain chemistry and reward, talking about how ultra-processed foods easily hack our reward system. They flood our brain with dopamine in specific areas, which is especially in areas where it's the feel-good hub that makes you want more and more. And to add another layer of complexity, they attach to the receptors in the brain, which reduce dopamine release. So you're brought down from that feel-good state, and this leads to feelings of dysphoria in certain people. So a mild negative new mood or dissatisfaction, you might feel a little off. You may be pushed to eat more ultra-processed foods, to chase that dopamine hit again. This happens over time as the brain adapts. So the negative feelings of dynorphins ramp up while the positive effects of dopamine go down. So this ends up creating a situation where you're chasing that reward, but it feels less and less satisfying. Dynorphins also affect other neurotransmitters, such as acetylcholine and glutamate, which help regulate how rewards are processed and how impulses are controlled. This message is with how your brain balances wanting food and managing cravings, and it ultimately contributes to binge eating and loss of control. And so researchers are looking at some real life solutions that are being developed to help people in their daily life. Pharmacological blockade of kappa opioid receptors, that's what they're looking at as a promising approach to reduce compulsive eating behaviors. In animal studies, blocking these receptors did help to reduce binge eating in these animals and seem to restore a healthier reward balance. Genetic differences, though, in how dynorphins express themselves is why some people struggle with food addiction and why treatments might need to be tailored to individuals. I mean, that needs to be said again, right? Everyone's an individual. I mean, that's the whole thing with, again, these GLP-1s. Some people have severe side effects and just can't use them. I actually talked to a woman at the wedding who had been using these, had been using the GLP-1s. She's like, I had to work just as hard with diet and exercise to lose weight on those things. And I did tell her, because there are some people that can lose on them without that diet and exercise, but I said all the research studies involve diet and exercise. So I don't think that they're meant to just work with no action on our part. What I've researched is, again, that I was telling this woman, is that the people that do the best on them, because their cravings are taken away, they're more likely to make better food choices, and they're more motivated to work out because they're seeing results. Now, when their eating is under control, they're seeing the results of their workouts, and it all plays together. She wasn't interested in that. So I thought that was interesting with that person that I had met. But anyway, I think everything needs to be tailored to the individual. I think the pharmaceutical world it's meant to help for the masses, but obviously people are individuals with very complex genetic profiles. But future researchers want to better understand how lifetime consumption of ultra-processed foods impacts the Dynorphin system, and humans, and how it relates to obesity risk and impulsive eating. They also want to understand how Dynorphins interact with other brain chemicals involved in reward and impulse control. Just for a better picture of how it will help a broader population. And this will be crucial in creating more effective treatments across the board. But overall, they're finding that these Dynorphins are powerful players in regulating how, when, and how much we eat, and how our bodies manage that energy, especially in the context of today's ultra-processed food world. They play a big part and have binge eating and compulsive eating. They interact with that part of the brain that influences binge and compulsive eating. So now I did want to do a little bit more research into Dynorphins, and PubMed, or actually NIH, had some research articles on it. And they didn't mention anything really didn't mention much in relation to weight and weight management. They talked about how Dynorphins are members of the opioid peptide family and preferentially bind to kappa opioid receptors, right? So that's in line with it. But it talks about in this research article that their functions are related to learning and memory, emotional control, stress response, and pain. And some of the pathophysiological mechanisms that involve Dynorphins and the kappa opioid receptors include epilepsy, addiction, depression, and schizophrenia. So the addiction part was mentioned in what Gary Brecka was talking about. But that's why it's I don't know, when it's related to depression, you could see how, and again, remember some of those other studies that were done with cannabinoid receptors led to suicidal tendencies. And look, there have been people that have reported psychological issues with the GLP-1s too. You just never know, again, with our receptor system and all these complex chemicals in our bodies, how things will interact across the board. Everyone's going to be different, slightly different. Yeah, so this research article is mainly looking at physiological, pathophysiological, and pharmacological implications of Dynorphins that are not related to, mostly looking at how they interact as opioid receptor agonists and antagonists. So I don't know, it's definitely not related to what Gary Brecka is talking about. I'm sure there's some interactions there, but I was just curious if there was anything about Dynorphins and how they relate to, like, there's definitely research articles on drug addiction, dependence. So I can see how, they talk about how sugar highlights the same part of our brain that drug, when you're addicted to drugs, it highlights that same area. So I could definitely see the correlation between food addiction, drug addiction in general. So I guess there are some interactions there. And it just shows the wide scope of studies that are being done specifically to look for more weight loss drugs, right? I mean, our culture is diet obsessed, right? I'm not just diet obsessed. Our whole entire society is diet obsessed. which is why I like to analyze it all, talk about it all, see what's on the horizon for new things. So anyway, that is the show. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please subscribe to this show if you're on YouTube. That doesn't cost you a penny. It just really helps me a lot. And you'll automatically get notified when one of my new episodes comes out. Next week, I will have a Craving More premium content show. So you can subscribe to that through Apple Podcasts or Patreon. Wherever you listen to podcasts, you should be able to access that link where you can click to subscribe for the premium content shows. Craving More VIP is only available on Patreon. So you would need to get the Patreon app and search The Diet Obsessed. The VIP shows definitely have more personal stuff going on there. It's not just diet related stuff or food related stuff and health related stuff. It's more personal stuff too. So it's for my true BFFs. Anyway, I do appreciate, I do have a new podcast to listen to from one of my listeners. So thank you, lady. I'm excited to listen to that. I love when my listeners send me recommendations for shows or media or podcasts that they think I'd enjoy, and maybe I'll do a review on it. But until we meet again, I hope all of you have a very balanced week.